I'm in an area of Lombok called Sekotong, and on the way to this particular place that I'm staying at tonight, I got real familiar vibes from a time in my past, and the alarm bells just started ringing. And it was a particular time when I got dengue fever. And I've got to be careful today because this feels exactly like that type of place. This is called Beach Camp Lombok, and I want to show you around just a little bit. They have these wooden cabins which look absolutely fantastic. Inside you have a bed and a fan and a couple of pieces of fabric for curtains. That's it. And oh, you got some electricity. So they've got electricity here, which is nice. No bathroom inside. And then the toilets are over there, shared sort of facilities. And that's it. Oh, we're the only guests here tonight. And it sort of makes sense in a little way because the trip here was just nightmarish. Nightmarish. So the last time I had a trip on a road that was that bad was actually when I got dengue fever some time ago in Laos. And geez, that was bad. That was bad. So the alarm bell started ringing because I was thinking, hang on, this is pretty remote, this place. This is hard to get to. And then when I got here, I mean, you look at this place right in the middle of the jungle and like, this is like dengue central, I reckon. That's what it feels like. It does feel pretty good though. It's quite remote. Even though I can see the ferries from Bali to Lombok coming across this stretch of water out the front. I'll show you that too. Beautiful little spot down here, look at this. The beach is actually quite nice. It's quite calm because you're in a huge bay. Now, access to this place truly is horrific. So it's a dirt road for about 3 kilometers, and I actually had read when I booked it, oh, the road's no good. But I've been down so many bad roads over the time that I've spent here in Southeast Asia. I've been on lots of sort of adventures and so forth, and some very bad roads too, including that one when I got dengue fever. And this particular road, I thought, well, how bad can it be? And they're your famous last words, aren't they, when you say, how bad can it be? Because it was bad. It has just been raining in this area over the past couple of hours. So the dirt road has turned into like a bit of a mud pit, and it's quite slick in areas. And it's very, very steep down and up. And with 2 people on the bike has enough power to go up those hills, but because you're going so slow, I mean, it's just sliding all around the place and trying to get your feet down. I had to go across a river at one point that's, I don't know, about 20 centimeters deep. And I've got shoes on rather than thongs, and trying to get across that without putting your feet down is a bit of a challenge. Just a nightmare, just a nightmare. But it's sort of these experiences that I think really, creates memories, doesn't it? Susan told me after we got here, we could have just caught the boat across. I said, yeah, but it might be expensive. And she said, no, it's included in the price. I just went, what? Why didn't you tell me? So apparently, just across there, they've got a boat that can bring you straight across, and you don't have any of those dramas. So that would have been my choice. But the thing is, you don't know, do you? Before you get here, you think, oh yeah, the road's bad. But I mean, how bad is it? We've got a motorbike. I mean, I can ride a motorbike. I've been around a bit. And you don't really know how bad it is until you get on it. So that's a bit of a lesson. So if I give you a recommendation to come to this place, I'll probably also give you a recommendation not to get on a motorbike. But because we haven't stayed here yet, I can't really sort of talk about recommendations yet. I've got a funny feeling though this place is going to be a bit of a hit because it is so remote and so far from everywhere that it's going to have a real good feeling about it. There is a local village about 700 metres in that direction, and apparently about 150 people live there. They also have to go along that road to go to the market every day, and there's kids that need to go to school, and once a week the whole village gets out there and they do gotong royong. And gotong royong is a really classic Indonesian thing where the whole village gets out together and has like a working bee. It's very, very common in Indonesia to have gotong royong in a community. And they do the gotong royong to fix the road because the road's in such a bad state. They go out once a week, get rocks and fill in the holes and try and make it so the mud is not so slippery, and they have shovels out there. Apparently there was talk about the government making the road better, and money was allocated to it, and a lot of heavy equipment came in, but after a while the heavy equipment left, and then that was it, like nothing happened. So the money was allocated, the heavy equipment that came in, but then Where did the money go? And the locals suffer because of it. In fact, the lady at the front desk here was saying that people have died because of the road. For example, a pregnant lady couldn't get to the hospital quick enough and she died on the way because you've got to go on the back of a motorbike. Imagine that, you're sick and you have to go on the back of a motorbike. There are people who have fallen off the bike and hurt themselves. She said that one lady banged her head and died after being in a coma for a while. And if people are really sick and they can't get on the back of a motorbike, they must be taken by boat across the other side here and then figure out transport options from there. It's a bit of a nightmare. Even though we're not that far from civilization, but access is actually still really difficult. Traditionally, this village is a fishing village, so they would have been an isolated fishing village with lots of transport options for themselves in boats. But as time goes by and fishing becomes less viable, people have sold their boats and so forth. So they're just a normal village, but they're now just a bit isolated. My story with dengue is an interesting one. So I got very, very sick when I was writing guidebooks back in the day in Laos, and Susan was with me. And one day we were sort of checking out a cave and we were walking up, and it was quite hot. And I was getting quite tired, but it sort of was more tired and more hot than I would normally get. And as I climbed this hill, I was gone. And on the way down, I just felt incredibly hot and tired. And when I got back to the parking lot, we say parking lot, but where I parked the bike, that was down a really bad dirt road. I just went to sleep. I went to sleep for about half an hour. And Susan thought it was just because maybe I was a bit dehydrated or what have you, and I didn't really know what was wrong. But I had a terrible ride along that dirt road all the way back to my accommodation. And as I got back there, I knew something was seriously wrong. So that night, I tried to just sleep it off, and I just stayed inside. I had Panadol to keep the temperature down, and Susan went out and got me some food. And the next day I was still very sick, and it was at that time that we said, I've got to get out of here, I think I've got malaria. So we booked a private transfer all the way from this part of Laos, in the north of Laos, to the biggest regional town, which was Luang Prabang, which you probably already know, and some of you have definitely been to. And so I got in this private van, but as we were going along, the dude was circling town trying to get other passengers. I'd already paid for a private transfer, but he started loading up the van, and I wanted to lie down in it like an ambulance. But he didn't care. He loaded it up. I actually took 2 seats and lied down on it. And we finally got to Luang Prabang, where I went into hospital. And the hospital there said, they took my blood and they said, look, we can't detect dengue fever here, but we can detect malaria. And you don't have malaria, so you probably have dengue fever, but there is no way to test for that here. So I stayed overnight in Luang Prabang, and I thought, I've got to get out of here. I've got to get towards some more, professional medical care. So that night, I spent one night in Luang Prabang, and then the next night, I took the overnight bus from Luang Prabang down to Vientiane. Vientiane is the capital of Laos. Beautiful city, by the way. Wouldn't mind going back there. And then once I got there, it was really weird because the Australian embassy there has some sort of, at the time, had a doctor that was attached to the embassy, which is quite odd, quite abnormal. And they had all the facilities, and they took a blood test. It cost me a fortune at the time, but you just don't care when you're that sick. And the lady said, look, you've had dengue fever, but you've already bottomed out. Your platelet levels are coming back up, it seems. And what you really need is to have a couple of weeks rest. So what we did is we got across into Thailand, into northern Thailand, and I just rested for 2 weeks in northern Thailand and just recovered slowly, because it just takes you out, it just takes it out of you. The feeling of dengue fever is an interesting one. It affects people in different ways. It gets called break bone fever by a lot of people because your joints can really swell up and ache like you wouldn't believe. I didn't get that part of it. I got very high fever, a very ill feeling. I had, are we going to go into it? Yeah, I had diarrhea for weeks. It's bad. You can hardly keep any food down. You get very weak. So you're just trying to replace your fluids, get any electrolytes into you, and trying to eat a little bit of food if you can, just to keep your body going. It's quite dangerous, actually. It can turn into what they call dengue hemorrhagic fever, which is where the blood starts to leak through, leak out of your arteries, basically. You start bleeding. And you don't want to get that because it results in death. I guess this is what happens to the bottles. Well, at least they're not thrown in the ocean. Maybe they collect them from the ocean. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe they can sell them. I don't know. This is the road I was coming down, by the way, but it goes over the back of the mountain, which is where it gets really hard. So that's my story about dengue. I never wish it upon anyone. There is a vaccine these days, but I think the vaccine is, I think there's actually a new vaccine as well, but there's two vaccines, I think. The one I remember required you to have had dengue fever first before you go and take it. And so for me, that would work. I'm not sure if the new variety has a different function or not. You'd have to probably look at what the story is with that particular vaccine. But you've got to be careful with dengue as well, because if you get, there are multiple strains of it. And if you get a strain that's different to the one you've already had, you are not immune to it. You've got some sort of cross immunity, but because the body gets confused, hey, this is sort of a bit different, it increases your chances of getting that dengue hemorrhagic fever. So if you get it the second time, like, you're really in trouble. The good thing is that in Indonesia, they are very good at treating it because it's a common tropical disease and everyone gets it. I've known many people who have gotten it, and you often go to hospital and you'll often be monitored because it can be quite dangerous. Then what they're doing, they're monitoring your platelet levels. And I remember once I was in a hospital in Bandung at one time, and that night, 2 children died of dengue fever when I was there. And those horrific screams of the parents as they realised their children had died is forever imprinted on my memory. I'll never forget it, so you have to be so careful with it, so careful. I also have friends here in Bali who have had it. I'm sure people who are watching this channel have definitely had it because it's quite common. A friend of mine, I remember back in, I think 2010, got it in Sanur, not far from where I live currently. He got it real bad, and he was sick. He was real sick. I think he might have even gone to hospital for that one, but he was like, had a lot of pain, and it's not pleasant, not pleasant. The reason it sort of sprung into my mind is because this road just feels so familiar, and the accommodation that we've got tonight is very similar to the accommodation I had that night when I had it the first time. And you've got to be careful, making sure you get covered up and you're putting that anti-mosquito type of lotion. I'll be putting the long pants on as well as it comes closer to dark. At the moment, I'm just walking back along the track because apparently there's the village up here, which I wouldn't mind having a bit of a look at. I can hear the call to prayer in the distance. That's where I want to be, up there. See what's going on in the village, in the kampong. This is the sort of road, yeah. I mean, on a motorbike, it gets a bit, because it's quite, you can see that there is like, it just gets smoothed out. It's not dirt anymore because it's just had a bit of rain on it. It's not totally 100% muddy, but it just gets a bit of a slip on it. And because it's not flat, it's like a little bit of an angle. Oh, you're constantly fighting it. I mean, you've got your feet down half the time trying to fight that. It's pretty ordinary. I was about to say, luckily it's a rental motorbike, but it's not. I own it. I said to Susan, oh, we might have to buy a new one when we get home. Get rid of this one. A lot of mosques in Lombok. I think they call it the island of 1,000 mosques. And that'd be wrong, actually, because I reckon there'd be like 10,000 mosques. Not a bad singer, this one. They've got varying quality, these dudes that get on the loudspeaker. You get some that are hopeless, you get some that are really have a great voice. This one's a good one. I remember the first time I heard the call to prayer was when I was in Bali. On my second visit, actually. The first visit I never heard it. The second visit I did hear it. I could hear it in the distance from my hotel. I think it was called the Bakung Sari Hotel back in the day. I think I paid like $25 a night, I think it was. And I remember hearing it was quite haunting. It's quite a shock to me because when you're not familiar with these sounds and you don't really understand Islam and you don't, you know, you've been in Bali when the first terrorist attacks happened and that sort of stuff. It is quite confronting the first time you hear it. Oh, some cows. Here we go. This is the road, by the way. This is where I had to ride. But you know, after you've heard that call to prayer a lot, it's actually not a big deal unless you're sort of staying really close to it and it fires up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which it normally does. You know, I mean, your proximity to the mosque really determines how much you can cope with it or not. Hello. Nice little village. Beautiful. Over here in the water, I can see a bunch of people fishing. So they're about sort of waist deep to chest deep in that water, all the way out. And I'm guessing they must be from the local village, because how else would they have got here? They must have come along the road that I did. All right. This is part of the road, by the way, down here. I actually took a wrong turn, and when I came here, I went up into the village. I was coming from that direction and went up there. But actually, I needed to turn across there and down there. Let's get into the village, see what there is. Well, that looks like the kuburan. Definitely that's a kuburan. I can see some graves in there. Big banana plantation over here. What else have we got going on? They've got electricity, which is interesting. There's the mosque. Decent building, isn't it? You find that the mosques are usually the strongest buildings in the village. It's normally the case. You look at the tsunami that happened in Aceh back in 2004. A lot of buildings were just wiped off the face of the earth, and then all of a sudden you'll see a big mosque in the middle of nowhere, which has sustained a bit of damage, but still standing strong because a lot of money's been put into good materials for those buildings. What I'm finding very shocking is there is a car there, or a truck, a pickup truck. And how on earth it gets along that road, I don't know. It seems almost impossible, to be honest, that it can get along there. I mean, it's almost impossible on a motorbike. The lady was saying to me, if you go at the wrong time of day and it's high tide, the road's covered by the ocean as well, which is a bit of a problem. All right, what have we got going on over here? Got a few houses around, a few kids. Hello. All right. Doesn't look like 100, 150 people live here though. Unless I go up here, maybe they're up the back. Oh, up the back here, there's some houses too. I mean, these are all made out of concrete and everything, so to get the supplies here, you must have vehicles coming down. Maybe the road is better at some times of year than the others. Because to get all these supplies up, they must have used trucks. Here we go. Oh, old school scales, look at that. Old school scales. They've got the old scales and everything on there. I wonder what that's for. Selling something. I can hear someone shouting out, there's a tourist, there's a tourist. Oh, they're making a building up here. Hello! Lagi apa? Baik. Lagi bikin rumah atau?
Alhamdulillah.
Ya. Lagi bikin apa?
Bikin rumah.
Oh, hancurin dulu.
Hancurin dulu.
Kenapa yang ini nggak terlalu bagus atau jelek atau gimana?
Jelek, rapuh.
Oh.
Rapuh.
Jadi mau bikin apa? Rumah besar atau gimana? Sederhana. Mahal ya kalau bang? Hah?
Makanya mau diperbaiki.
Oh, mau diperbaiki tapi udah roboh.
Biar nggak roboh lagi.
Ya, oke, ya.
Biar keren lagi.
Mau boleh lihat juga?
Boleh.
Ya.
Nerekam nih.
Iya. Hati-hati licin. Ini. Jadi semua dinding ini masih ada, nggak mau dihancurin dulu? Yang ini?
Iya, cuma ini aja udah.
Udah semua hancur yang mau dihancurin?
Iya.
Lagi bikin lagi ya? Menarik ya? Kenapa?
Nginep di mana?
Di apa? Hah?
Camp apa kata?
Beach camp. Ada apa lagi di sini di desa ini?
Banyak lagi.
Apa?
Yang seperti apa maunya?
Oh, lihat suasananya. Dua. Ya, jalan-jalan saja di, ya nggak apa-apa.
Nggak apa-apa.
Ya, aku tidak mau apa, aku mau sopan ya. Oke, makasih ya.
Sama.
Ya, alright, well, di belakang ada? Nggak?
Nggak ada.
Nggak ada. Ke arah sini nggak ada?
Cuma di sana. Di sana.
Bisa lewat sini ya?
Ya, bisa.
Ya, makasih ya. Yang semua apa kayak apa genteng dan semuanya kayak gini, bawa pakai apa? Mobil.
Mobil.
Tapi mobil nggak
Kan
bisa.
pakai perahu.
Oh, perahu. Karena mobil nggak bisa lewat sekarang.
Bisa pakai perahu.
Tapi dulu bisa lewat pakai mobil.
Kadang-kadang kalau nggak hujan bisa.
Oh,
Hujan lebat nggak bisa.
kalau hujan nggak bisa.
Nggak bisa.
Ah.
Lecet kan?
Ya, oh licin sekali. Aku hampir jatuh tadi. Istri saya agak marah juga. Ya, pelan-pelan. Kayak gitu. Betul kan ya? Oke, makasih ya. Oke. Oh, I got some chickens here. So I get it now. They can't get the vehicles in most of the time because it's raining, but if it's not raining, they can get through. And he said he's gonna, like all that gear is brought across on the boat. Interesting, yeah? Interesting. Oh, that one. Getting dirty feet now. I'm wearing thongs. One of the problems was coming along that road, I would have been better off wearing thongs, to be honest, but I had shoes on. When it came to that river, and you got shoes on, you have to go across it. I mean, it's not fun, is it? Well, this is the village. Village life. It's always pretty basic, isn't in the village, isn't it? Always pretty basic. But the people are always really nice as well, you know. What else we got? Well, not really much. There's your rubbish pile. I guess they have to burn that every now and then. I'm not sure the rubbish truck sort of makes it this far. Well, you have to, don't you? I mean, it's reality. You either have to burn it or bury it. And then when you've got a lot of plastic, it becomes problematic. You know, in the old days, you bury your rubbish or burn it, and it's a bit of paper or plant matter. It doesn't really matter, but oh, look at that. That looks like dragon fruit plants. That's what that looks like, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what dragon fruit plants look like. In Indonesian, buah naga, literally dragon fruit. Buah is fruit, and naga is dragon. Little warung, get all your supplies there. They've got gas, they've got air a gallon, they've got all the little snacks, and you can get eggs in there, coffee, and they've even got a freezer with ice cream. Hello. Oh, kucing juga. Hello. Hello. Oh, that's a cute one. That is a cute one. Very berbulu. Berbulu. That is a cute cat. Do love my animals, actually. I do love my animals. There's a sign here that basically says, "Jangan ribut, nanti pocong bangun," along those lines. Yeah, these ladies were just telling me what because I couldn't read it all. And basically, what that means is, mainly for the kids, if you make a racket around here, the pocong is going to come and get you. And a pocong is like this mythical feature, or mythical being in Indonesia. It's basically a dead person who's had their body covered in the white cloth, and then they tie a knot at the top. But the pocong, but what happens with the pocong is that it wakes up and it comes and attacks people. So it's like a ghost almost. It's one of the things that kids are really afraid of. Well, even adults are really afraid of here in Indonesia. If you talk about pocong, it sort of hops along. So a pocong doesn't walk, it hops because it's in a white cloth. It's got the knot on top of the head and it'll jump along. And a mate of mine said the best way to defeat a pocong is just tie a rope at one end of the fence and pull it tight, and the pocong can't come past because pocong can't jump, it can just hop. So yeah, don't make a racket down there, otherwise the pocong's going to come and get ya. Pocong is a really good word if you want to sort of get closer to Indonesian culture. If you mention pocong, people know, oh, this guy knows a little bit about Indonesia. There's some really important words in there, one of them being bangun, yeah, is to wake up. But you can also, so if you want to bangun in the morning, you're waking up in the morning, but you can also bangun rumah, yeah, is to build a house, because there's another word which is bangunan, which is like the noun, which is something which has been built. In other words, a building. So remember those ones, they're really important words. You will hear them all the time when you start speaking Indonesian. So if you want to bangun sesuatu, build something, sesuatu is something, yeah? Saya mau bangun sesuatu. I think in that sentence I said something along the lines of nanti pocong bangun. Nanti means later, yeah? In the future, well, it's actually not in the future, it's just later. There is another word for in the future, but you're sort of like that direction. Later, nanti, the pocong is going to wake up. So remember that one. Nanti is really important when you're talking about time, because someone will say, oh, when do you want to go to the beach? And you might not know exactly when. So you just say, oh, nanti. One of the things we have to do when we're learning Indonesian, it's quite an expressive language. So you have to let out a bit of expressiveness. It's almost like you're an actor in some ways. Don't be flat with your language. Try and be expressive, because Indonesians are usually quite expressive when they're talking to one another. They're not shouting, they're just being very expressive. So that's why when I said nanti, I said it in a sort of a bit of a tone, a bit of colour in there, because Indonesians really use a bit of colour in their language. Well, it's good morning from Beach Camp Lombok. We are in the area of Sekotong. Sekotong is that long peninsula in the southwest of Lombok, which I always sort of wanted to have a look at. Now that I'm sort of here, I think this part of Lombok on its own, you could sort of spend a week in easily, just exploring, going up and down the coast, going to some of the islands. I got myself a little coffee here as we wake up. We're the only guests in this hotel tonight. Like, it's a pretty quiet place. I believe this place gets busy on weekends when Indonesian groups might come across, but at the moment, no one else here. They can whip you up a nice little dinner. Like, they've got so many things on the menu that you can have, like I don't know, fried chicken. I reckon they just go down to the village and take one from off the street and go and chop it up and fry it. But we just had a nasi goreng with some chicken in it. Oh, that's a sweet coffee. It's one of those packet ones. This morning they'll whip up something for breakfast, which is included in the price of 360,000 a night, which I reckon is a pretty good deal. That price includes that free boat trip, which I mentioned yesterday. Now today the plan is to get out of here on that dodgy road out. I'm a little bit apprehensive about it, but it should be okay because we haven't had any rain since that time. It was quite nice this morning, but now it started to rain when we're about to leave. And there's another problem that they've told us. They said, oh, by the way, you can't leave now because it's high tide. The road is covered by the ocean in high tide, so you can't go because of that and the rain. It's like, what? What are you talking about? How do we get in and out of this place? We should have just caught that boat over from the other side, but we've got the motorbike here, so we don't really have a choice. So this is going to be an interesting journey out of this little area here. Okay, so I'll show you what this road's like, and hopefully we don't have any incidents, but I'm going to film for safety's sake and show you what the story is. Hopefully we're okay. Apparently the tide's gone down enough that we can get through the water now, but this is really slippery through here. We should be okay. Should be okay. We'll just take it easy and we'll be okay. Like, little bits of water like this, standing puddles, are not a big deal. So already I'm starting to slip on this mud and we're going a little bit sideways, so I just have to be careful to go a bit slower. There we go, through that. The thing is, the locals know where the slippery bits are and where the bits are you can go a bit faster. Here we go. This is where the water must have been over the path for a while. A little bit of rubbish here, a little bit past. Yeah. All right, so if you can see here, the road's completely blocked. It's a little bit difficult. The guy's having to get rid of a lot of the rubbish there. It's all sort of all the sticks and rubbish, mainly sticks and branches have sort of washed up over the path. That's okay. Bisa ya. Oh, that's pretty bad. All right, Susan's back on. A little bit, so I've got my feet down half the time along here. So half the time I've got my feet up and half the time I've got my feet down. Just to be careful. And I think it's back brake only at the moment. Even though I've got ABS on that front brake, I noticed that when I was coming in, the ABS doesn't really work too well at those low speeds, and especially if it's sliding sideways, it's no good. We've got a bit of an uphill here, should be okay. That's steep. Went through, I think. There we go. Easy, easy, but don't get too cocky. Don't get too cocky. You go real slow down here, or walk it down here almost. There goes the back brake, slide the back wheel sliding a bit. Tiny bit of front brake, and we're okay. We're okay. Just requires a massive amount of strength. Well, not that I'm strong, but like you have to really tense your whole body and just reef the bike left and right as required. Okay, here's the problem we've got here. There's a guy going to help us here. I'm going to have to pick my timing. So there, that path along the beach is sort of covered by the ocean. The guy's going to get rid of some of that rubbish first, and then I'm going to get across. Susan's going to walk it. That guy got across easy. So he came up over here. I'm stuck on a log. Yang kayu itu kayaknya. Yeah. Kasih. Oh yeah. Okay, pick my timing. I'm through. Go, go, go. There we go. I'm through here. Wow, this wasn't like this yesterday. All this sticks and rubbish everywhere. They must come and pick it up every day. Because when I got here yesterday, it wasn't so bad. All right, we're across now to this area. This is also some sort of super full moon as well, where it gets very high at the tide. All right, what he's telling me to do here is that I should walk the bike across, which I will do. So I'll walk it across. And we're through. Whee! Ooh, susah ini. Alright, so we're just getting the buoy over there to check, see whether we can get through, because there's a swamp here that wasn't there before. On the right looks like full of sewage. And then down here on the beach seems to be a little bit of a break. Yeah. So we're okay, we're on the beach now. And we'll get back on the road again. Alright. It's crazy, eh? Crazy. Needless to say, Susan's not very impressed with this, and I understand why. I think we just picked the wrong time to come here, super full moon or whatever it's called, and the tide's about the size it's going to be for the month. And but that's not even the hard bit yet. It gets really hard over here when we have to get over this mountain. Tapi dari sini nggak ada air lagi ya?
Tidak ada air lagi.
Seharusnya oke. Kalau naik turun, dia turun aja. Aku naik sendiri. Makasih ya.
Makasih banyak Pak ya.
Ya.
Hati-hati.
Ya, makasih ya. Okay, my biggest fear of the whole part was that we had to go through some deep water, which I went through on the way here, and this time we didn't have to go through it, which is pretty lucky. I just have to be careful on these muddy sections now, especially on the uphill and downhill that's coming up, and then we should be okay. I mean, at the end of the day, it's only about 3 kilometres to the asphalt, but it feels a lot longer because you're going so slow and it's such a treacherous road. Like, this sort of section's not too bad. Been on much worse than this before. But when it gets steep, it's unpleasant. The old PCX is a 160cc and it goes pretty strong. It's got a bit of power about it, but when you're going uphill with 2 people and luggage, it actually is underpowered. It's actually underpowered for that sort of arrangement. You really need something even bigger than that. So coming up here on a sort of a scoopy at 110cc or a Vario 125, totally not going to work. Now this is a fairly heavy bike as well, so that 160cc engine actually goes into pulling the bike a bit as well. All right, so we're coming up to a steep uphill section. Susan's going to get off here so that I can get up on my own. She's going to give me the backpack though. All right, here we go. Oh, slippery. There we go. Wow. So this thing has like a anti-skid acceleration type thing. And up there, you can hear the engine sort of cutting out as it's skipping because it's just so slippery. Because it's sort of like, not, without Susan on the back now, it's quite light at the back. Yeah, here we go. It's not too bad, but then look at the hill that comes up here. Look at how bad it gets up here. Susan's gonna have to walk to the top of that, which is not great. But we don't have a lot of choice here. Might actually get her on here and then take her up as far as I can. Susan's saying, just keep going, don't worry, she'll walk it. She doesn't even want to be on the bike up here. But it is pretty bad. There's a bit of a concrete section up here, which should help a bit. There we go. And I'm on first. It's pretty ordinary. There you go, spinning. I don't know how the locals do this every day. Got to take kids to school and everything. I mean, it's an absolute nightmare, isn't it? I mean, I'm sliding all over the place here. There we go. Back on terra firma. I'll get Susan back on at the top. Although coming down could be difficult too, so I'll have a look at that before I get Susan back on, to be honest. Nice view though, look at that. Isn't that a beautiful view? Oh, that's steep. That's real steep. Susan's huffing and puffing, so she wants to get back on the bike now. So I'm just going to take it easy at walking speed down here. And I'm just going to use all back brake. And if that starts sliding, put a bit of front on. But that's all I can really do here. It looks okay. It is slippery. Like the back just kicked out there. But I'm okay with it at the moment. Just take it a bit easier, slow it down a bit. Yeah, that's heaps easier, actually. So, all right, I think we're okay here. Coming up, this was actually quite difficult yesterday. But today, it's a bit easier coming down. Always the way. You can understand why people have fallen off their bikes around here quite a bit, the locals. Because it's just a bit treacherous. You grab that brake a little bit too hard, you're gone. Breathing heavily now. My body's like totally rigid. Oh. It's like mountain biking. I think we're past the worst of it now, which is great. I mean, there are some slippery sections up here as well, but the actual worst part we are past now, and I feel okay about that. Like this section is pretty dodgy. All right, we are back to the main dirt road, which is great. Because from here, I know that it's not too bad at all. It's just a normal dirt road rather than a really ridiculous one. Today's episode started off with me being worried about whether I'm going to get dengue fever or not because I'd been triggered by this road on the way in, but it ended up me being worried more about trying to get out because of the ocean levels rising due to the super full moon high tide and also that slippery section, but I've got through it now. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm heading off to another area of Lombok now in the south. It's called Selong Balanak. A lot of people have been recommending it to me. I thought I'd give it a go, have a look at what's going down there. It's sort of in the Kuta area. It's not too far from Kuta, but apparently it's beautiful. So I'm gonna go there now. I'm gonna finish up here for today, and thank you very much for coming along for the ride, and thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sonora and the rest of Indonesia. I'll catch you next time, and sampai jumpa.